What if I told you? The Doctor may have nowhere left to run. That the TARDIS isn't just parked, but abandoned. And that behind the scenes, powerful hands are pulling strings to quietly shut it all down. Because something massive just happened. Something the BBC didn't want to admit. And Disney, they're pretending nothing's wrong. But fans noticed. And now we have the first crack in the mask. A single quote, vague, hesitant, but unmistakable, from the very top of the BBC. A quote that confirms what many feared. Doctor Who's future is hanging by a thread. And no one is telling you the full truth. Until now. Because what if the regeneration wasn't just a plot twist, but a signal? What if season 15 was the real finale, and no one told you? Let's unravel what's really going on, before it's too late. It's been over a month since season 15 ended with the most polarizing regeneration in Doctor Who history. The moment Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor inexplicably transformed into Billie Piper. A Beat Generation twist, a shock to canon, and a total shift in tone. But after the dust settled, silence. No trailer, no teaser, no official confirmation of season 16, and certainly no word from Disney. Until now. Tom Fussell, the CEO of the BBC, finally spoke. But what he said raised more questions than answers. He told Deadline, the BBC remains really committed to Doctor Who, and is continuing to look at ways in which we can bring the show to fans. Sounds reassuring. Until you realize what he didn't say. He didn't say season 16 is confirmed. He didn't say Disney is on board. He didn't say Russell T Davies is returning. Instead, he leaned on vague nostalgia, saying, fans love the Doctor Who brand. It's been that way since before I was in short trousers. That's not a commitment. That's a memory. And just when fans thought the worst might be over, he pivoted. Instead of focusing on Doctor Who, he talked about Bluey and Dancing with the Stars. He called Disney a key partner, but only in the context of other shows. Not Who, not the TARDIS, not the longest-running sci-fi series in history. That silence, it's deafening. What's really going on? Before we dig deeper, you need to hear this. We uncover secrets like this every week. Real leaks, forbidden truths, buried quotes the mainstream ignores. So if you're watching this, you must subscribe right now. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now, because the BBC won't tell you what we're about to. And Disney sure won't. Let's talk about the real story behind the quotes. First, internal BBC documents from late 2024 confirmed Doctor Who was already facing budgetary strain. Even with Disney's backing, season 15's lavish sets, the sweeping VX, the global promotions, those weren't funded by the BBC alone. They were part of the co-production deal with Disney. And here's the problem. If Disney withdraws, the BBC can't afford that scale. Not for another full season, not without major sacrifices. Which is why Tom Fussell's comments weren't a promise. They were a signal flare. An early admission that something's changing behind the scenes. Disney has been eerily silent since Gatwa's regeneration. Their own streaming platform, Disney Plus, didn't even highlight the finale in their 2025 sizzle reel. And in meetings, internal sources say, Disney executives have been pivoting toward Star Wars and Marvel, projects they have full control over. Doctor Who, in contrast, is a licensing partnership, one that Disney doesn't own. So why would they pour millions into a brand they can't control? Now, let's take that further. Tom Fussell's quote mentioned finding ways to bring the show to fans. Why say that? Unless the current method is about to change. There's more. The BBC has reportedly reached out to other streaming partners. Sources close to production say Amazon Prime and HBO Max have been floated as possible backup options if Disney exits. That's right. Doctor Who might be leaving Disney entirely. And it gets even more complicated. Behind the scenes, multiple cast members are in limbo. Billie Piper's future as the Doctor remains unclear. Russell T Davies hasn't confirmed whether he's showrunning season 16. And Gatwa. He's already signed on for multiple feature films. His calendar for early 2026, blocked out, entirely. So what if season 16 isn't delayed? What if it's replaced, a reboot, a spin-off, or something no one expects? Because remember, in the same interview where the BBC CEO praised Disney, he never once tied Disney to Doctor Who's future. That wasn't a slip. That was careful omission. There's another layer to this. While all this is happening, Disney and the BBC are doubling down on projects like the Bluey movie. That's right. The biggest media conglomerates in the world are more focused on a cartoon dog. then on protecting one of the most iconic science fiction legacies in history. But what if this is the plan? What if canceling Doctor Who slowly, quietly, without saying the word, cancel, was the goal all along? Because the truth is, canceling something like Doctor Who is a PR nightmare. It sparks outrage, backlash, especially from a global fanbase that spans 6 decades. So how do you kill the Doctor without anyone noticing? You stop confirming future seasons. You delay spin-offs. You go quiet. And you wait for the audience to walk away, voluntarily. So you can say, "We didn't cancel it. The fans lost interest." But what if that's not true? What if millions are still watching, but no one's listening? Stay with me, because in next part we uncover the real endgame. The closed-door meetings, the spin-off delays, and a massive twist involving Matt Smith. Yes, that Matt Smith and Ncuti Gatwa. The two doctors may not be as disconnected as you think, and their futures might just be colliding. Let's pull back the curtain a little more. Because right now, while fans are stuck debating the B generation twist, a much bigger story is unfolding. Behind the scenes, multiple spin-offs tied to Doctor Who's expanded universe have been quietly pushed back. The UIT spin-off starring Gemma Redgrave was originally announced for 2024. As of now, no confirmed release date, no new footage, no official trailer, and The War Between the Land and the Sea, the mysterious spin-off led by Susan Twist and rumored to explore ancient Time Lord conflicts, dead silent. Even Doctor Who Tales of the TARDIS, the nostalgic companion series, has had no renewal announcement. Why does that matter? Because Disney was originally meant to finance this entire new Doctor Who universe. RTD's vision wasn't just a show, it was a multiverse. A woniverse echoing Marvel's sprawling empire. But now, that empire is stalling before it even begins. And buried inside a recent BBC strategy document, one you weren't supposed to see, was a telling line. Franchise prioritization efforts will pivot toward owned IPs with clear ROI potential. Translation: Doctor Who isn't fully owned by the BBC anymore. Not with Disney involved. Not with global streaming rights in flux. And if it's not giving the right return on investment, it gets moved down the list. But here's where it gets even stranger. Because while all this uncertainty is swirling, a leak emerged from within the BBC's casting office. And it involves someone you never expected to return. Matt Smith. Yes, the 11th Doctor. Sources claim he's been approached to appear in a future Doctor Who event, one that directly involves Ncuti Gatwa's and Billie Piper's regenerations. The working title: The Fractured Timeline. The concept is wild. The idea that multiple versions of the Doctor are active simultaneously, operating in different parts of space and time. Because the regeneration process has been compromised. Sound familiar? It should. It builds directly on the Beat Generation twist from Empire of Death. Here's the kicker. If that event is greenlit, it would mark a soft reboot of the show. A chance to reset continuity, merge timelines, and even bring back classic characters. And it's not being funded by Disney, it's being pitched to Netflix and Amazon Prime. In other words, the BBC is hedging its bets, preparing for a post-Disney Doctor Who and Billie Piper. According to insiders, her involvement wasn't just for shock value. Her Doctor, yes Doctor, may lead one of the upcoming spin-offs. An alt-TARDIS, an alternate dimension, possibly set in a universe where Gallifrey was never destroyed. This is bigger than Season 16. It's a backdoor branch timeline. A multiversal escape hatch, in case the current mainline show gets scrapped. So, why the secrecy? Why hide all of this from fans? Because if it became clear that Doctor Who is fracturing into pieces, audiences might lose faith in the mainline show. And the BBC needs those ratings to hold, at least until the next production partner is secured. So where does this leave us? Right now, we're standing at the edge of a paradox. Doctor Who technically isn't cancelled, but it's not safe either. It's Schrodinger's show alive and dead until someone confirms Season 16, and Disney. They're holding the rights hostage, refusing to confirm their exit or renew their involvement. And the BBC, they're playing both sides, claiming commitment to fans, while quietly preparing to shift production elsewhere. This is the most unstable the franchise has been since the late 1980s, when Sylvester McCoy was quietly ushered off screen, and the show was cancelled without ever saying the word, cancelled. The question now isn't just, will Season 16 happen? It's, will Disney fund it? Will Billie Piper's new Doctor become the lead? Will Matt Smith return in a multiversal reset? And will this era of Doctor Who be remembered as the beginning of something bold? Or the slow motion implosion of a sci-fi legend? You weren't supposed to notice the silence, the vague quotes, the spin-offs with no dates, the actors quietly exiting. You were supposed to believe that everything was fine, that no news meant good news, that Disney was still on board, that the Beat Generation twist was just creative fun. But now you know better. Now you see the cracks in the TARDIS, and the truth is, Doctor Who is at war, not with Daleks or Cybermen, but with corporate indecision, franchise fatigue, and silent reboots. And the only real question left is which Doctor will survive the collapse. Because somewhere in the vortex of fractured timelines, backroom deals, and streaming wars, there's a version of Doctor Who that endures. There always is. But the version you knew, the one that began in 1963, regenerated across generations, and united fans across decades, it may have already faced its final regeneration. And this, what you're watching now, might just be the show's shadow form. Unstable, uncertain, unreal, but not unloved. Because as long as there are fans watching, wondering, remembering, the Doctor is never truly gone.